Welcome into the first episode of the Ponder podcast. I am Sebastian.
And I am Matthias.
And we're now ready for the first episode after the introductory episode we did last.
Yeah, definitely.
And this episode is about the meaning of you, or rather, who you want to be and how to be your best self.
Mm-hmm.
I think we personally have a ton of stories to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is a topic that's very personal to pretty much everyone. I don't think this will miss anyone in any demographic. Yeah,
it's definitely something that all people can relate to. It's something we've thought about, just what type of person you want to be. And, you learn in psychology, which I have in school, how, we have become self-reflective and always want to better ourselves in a way. And I suppose that can be both positive and negative. You evolve in some sort of way, but you also sort of, you adapt to some things that you might think are good things because you see other people doing it, but you're not really personally satisfying because it's not part of who you are, I guess, essentially.
Yeah, that's true. We're in some sort of a transitional time.
Yeah. Where
in the past you were just what you were told.
Yeah, exactly. Your forefathers' profession, it followed with you through time, and that's changed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now you have the choice to choose, but anyways, even though you have the choice to choose, you still seem to be influenced by other people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
For a larger part of what you choose, and this episode will be about choosing and seeing what you want to do and not necessarily what other people want you to do. And that is a hard thing to break free from. Yeah, we know personally, both of us, that
definitely
people have a large influence on what you want to become. And that'll bring us into the first topic. We wrote down a quote to guide us through the points we have, and we have 3 points we want to get through. And the first one is, be the best you, not the second best someone else. Don't try to change yourself in vain. Forgive your faults and remember that you have plenty of positive attributes. Yeah. That's a common thing. We always forget that even though we always see that the grass is greener in our neighbor's garden, we always have something good about ourselves that we usually forget. Let's take ourselves, for example. You might even have noticed this, but we're not generally so used to talking, like being the head of conversation.
Yeah, we're...
because we're both very introverted.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can say that we both talked about this earlier too. Mm-hmm. We've always, maybe not always, but for a long time in our teenage years, wished that we were more outgoing and better at talking and engaging people in conversation.
I think the hardest thing is, being able to see how this affects you and, the benefits of being that opposite side of you, but it's just hard to go in that direction. Yeah. I think that's the hardest part,
Yeah, precisely, because you always see what everybody else
missing
has.
Out of. Yeah, exactly. The grass is green on the other side, you see what other people are enjoying, but
Yeah, because the other side is also sometimes wishing to be on our side.
Yeah, definitely.
As we talked about earlier, because watching the podcast of the Cimarellis,
mm-hmm.
they talked about how even the most outgoing of them sometimes wish that they were some more silent and mystical.
Yeah,
is what they used to describe it. And it just shows that even though you think somebody else has the good side, they might actually think you have the good side.
Yeah. I mean, just reverting back to like psychology theories, I mean, you always have the front stage and backstage. What do you show to others, what others see of you, and then, what's actually deep inside you, and what maybe haunts you or something in some ways, but others people don't see. So, we're always longing after something, more personal, more profound for ourselves in some way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. Yeah, and it's just hard to find that. It's hard to figure out who you are way more than we sometimes give it credit for.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And yeah, we just sometimes forget that what you are is good in its own way, and we have to value that. For example, well, let's go back to the example we talked about before, with us being introverted, and even though we have a hard time maybe making conversation sometimes, it gives us the benefit of being very thoughtful and generally a bit more organized than maybe some of the most outgoing people.
Yeah, yeah.
And that has its advantages too. We're a little more conserved and, well, we're mystical, maybe. That's the word they used again.
Yeah, I think
and people might be interested in engaging us because we're a little more silent, a little more conserved.
Yeah.
And it depends a lot on what people want, what people seek. Because some people, they need a complementary person to have a good conversation or a good relationship. So some extroverted people might seek the introverted people, and the other way around. Because
I think sometimes it can be very exhausting for the extroverted people, always having to live up to that standard they set for themselves. And, just, being able to talk with an introverted person in our case, you know, it can be very relaxing and, they're thoughtless, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to
they get to speak and they do not have to think about speaking too much because the introverted person is fine with it.
Yeah.
They
almost don't want the other person to, be themselves or be the extroverted person they are.
Yeah, and that's the best way to do it. Find somebody who's complementary in that regard. And we experienced this mostly through, I remember some people, or more particularly one person, who was very outgoing and very successful in his social and dating life. And I think I envied him a bit for it. Not just a bit, but quite a bit.
Yeah,
I think we're both in the same boat there.
Yeah, I think it's dumb. Yeah.
But it's a different thing when you grow up and maybe see things from a different side. Also, dating becomes another thing when you grow up. Like it's a completely tilted and weird
meaningful
thing.
I guess.
Yeah, when you're 14, 15, 16, it's not really dating. It's just the most popular person dating the most popular person.
Yeah.
Sure. And then everybody else gets left behind the wagon and just forgotten there. But dating becomes more profound and real when you get older, is what I've experienced, and I'm not even that old yet. But but it also applies to other things than just being introverted or extroverted. I mean, you might, let's take for example another thing we talked about earlier. I know a guy, one of my best friends, who is a vicious worker. He'll work all day and every day.
Yeah.
And I cannot do that. And that is simply how it is. And sometimes, even still now, I wish sometimes that I was like him and that I could work all the time. Just be completely tireless. And just go about my day without even thinking about it. But I just can't do that. I get tired and I have to stop working. And I have to do something I'm interested in. And that's where something like music comes in for me. That's what I want to do with my life. I'm at least pretty sure of it. I'm still 18. I still have some time to figure it out, but I'm at least pretty sure.
Yeah, I think I can sort of relate to that. Yeah, I definitely can. I think, well, as a young age, or when I was in like grade 6 or 7, I think I was sort of that person, the hardworking, always doing stuff. But that's also because I was sort of pressured to always fulfill the school tasks at hand, and sort of set everything aside. But I was also very close-minded when I was young, but still sort of aware of what was going on. But when I got older, I learned about business and music and all the different things, reading and stuff like that. And you do the things that you have to do, which can always be sort of demeaning and very tireless. wait, no, not tireless, but you know, it's exhausting. But then you see all the things that you could be doing, the things you actually want to be doing, reading, music, and so on. And you know, you get sort of depressed of the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the same way I feel about working in music and reading.
It's about, you know, you see the things that you could be doing instead.
Yes.
And get sort of depressed and closed in because of the things you have to do, because you simply have to fulfill the tasks at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, you know, playing music or doing what you actually want.
Yeah. And this guy I talked about before, for example, he enjoys working, so he can do it without feeling tired about it.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel that way about that kind of work. But I do feel that way about music, for example. I can sit and play music for hours on end. And I only get tired if I play for hours on end. Like, I don't get tired of playing, I just get tired mentally. If it makes sense,
Yeah. I mean, everything
so it's about finding that thing for you and just going for that.
Yeah, that's what's important for everyone. You're finding that thing that drives you.
Yeah, and that's the second point, actually.
The motivational factor that drives you.
It's the second point. Yeah, I can read it out. Don't let people push you away from the path you desire to take. No matter how low the chances are that you'll succeed. If you truly want this life, the percentages do not matter. Just do it, so you won't regret it in 20 years. And that's the point we kind of segued into here. Whatever you want to do with your life, whatever you have found the desire to be, you have to pursue that. You just have to do it. You cannot do whatever everybody else pressures you into doing, or whatever will give you a steady income. You have to do what you want to do and what you want to live your life with. You have to do what you're motivated to do. Not necessarily motivated as in you're happy to do all the work, but whatever you find meaningful. Whatever you can wake up to each day and have something meaningful and productive to do, that you see a future in, that you see something valuable in. And if you don't do that, you'll just, as the text said, you'll find yourself longing for what could have been in 20 years. You'll see yourself looking back and going, what could I have done? How could I have done if I just did something different than this steady job that my parents told me to do? It's about finding the possibility.
I think we can sort of relate to that with our sort of educational background, the traditional educational background we have. I think it's been a big pain for us, and I think you have mostly escaped that.
Although not entirely. My dad still bugs me about it sometimes.
Oh, that's sort of fun.
Not really.
It's not jokingly fun.
It is fun now, but when we were in the heat of it, it wasn't fun. It was not fun at that point. I should probably explain this whole thing.
Yeah, we haven't
before we go
covered
on
that conversation yet.
No, we haven't.
Let's do that.
So we did our whole primary, secondary school. And then that it's a bit different in Denmark, but that's 10 years of school in Denmark. Then we went to something called a gymnasium. Directly translated. And that's a sort of high school, but different. It's not mandatory in Denmark, like I think high school is in, or is it? I'm not exactly sure, but this is not mandatory in Denmark. This is like a thing before higher education.
Yeah, it's a thing before, it's a step up.
Precisely.
To higher education.
And we went to that for 1 year, or we went to the same place. We talked about all the time how we just did not want to do this because it was so tiresome. It was as if it was taking away from everything else we wanted to do. And just making us tired and exhausted when getting home and not wanting to do anything. It was sort of depressing. In a light way. I dropped out of it after the first year.
You dropped out.
And I had a big fight with my dad and my mom, for that matter, about doing it, and they really were on my nerve for 3, 4, 5 months of time where we just had so many discussions and, well, quarrels about me wanting to leave and them wanting me to get a stable education. And that's just not what I wanted to do. I wanted to, at that point, mostly focus on the company that I'm a part of with Rasmus and Tobias. But now I see that that's not my focus. It's music. Even though I'm not so experienced at music yet, I haven't been playing for a long time. But even after 2 years, or more like 2.5 years now, I realized that that's what I want to do, for now at least. And I think it's important for me to pursue that. I cannot let my dad and my mom decide what I have to do. And yes, that's what happened with that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm still in the educational system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I, have the same feelings as Sebastian. I think, you had sort of the business to, fall onto, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't really have
I guess
anything right now.
Yeah, I had the argument or the
the persuasion factor.
Justification to
the justification. Yeah.
To let go of it. Yeah, and that was barely enough. Like they did not think it was a good justification, but I thought it could justify it for myself at least. And I guess you do not have that yet. You just didn't fall into a man like Rasmus.
Precision. Precision. Yeah. Yeah, but that very well links with what we just said. How you have to pursue what you want, and how things you don't want to do can be very depressing. I mean, doing this is very enjoyable, but thinking when I get home I have to do I have like 5 different assignments that I have to complete within the next 3 days, and I just have to do them because there's a deadline, and it's just stuff you have to do. Yeah, because it's you can always just not do it per se, but you also sort of want to satisfy yourself. I don't want to satisfy the teachers, except for the ones I actually respect, which are few teachers in the school. But you mostly do it for yourself. You don't want to hand in something that is half good or not to your standard. Like you can't just just hand in a blank piece of or a jumbled up essay.
Even if you're doing something you don't want to, you still do it as well as you can.
Yeah,
or at least good
can
enough.
Endure as well as you can endure.
Exactly.
Yeah, you want to. Yeah, it's actually fun to think about. How you don't want to do it, but you still do the best you can to satisfy yourself.
Yeah.
In knowing that you did the best you can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most certainly, you're not doing the absolute best you can, but you're doing enough to satisfy yourself.
Yeah. I'm doing what's necessary, I guess, to satisfy myself. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about.
I think that's very well with our third point.
Yeah.
You want to read that up again?
Let's move into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the third point is, take as much responsibility as you can bear in whatever area you want. Push yourself and be a little more today than you were yesterday. But remember, when you need to relax or take a break, do that too.
Yeah.
So here we're saying, be as much as you can, but also remember to take a break. And the most important thing to take away from this is, make small progress. Do something little every day that'll make today a little better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Don't try to change something in a big, drastic way.
Yeah, just do something today that you'll thank yourself for in the future.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it can be something little or seemingly mundane as just waking up regularly in the morning and taking a walk or taking a bath, or just removing some small bad habits like me watching YouTube in the morning or something like that. And eating better, getting good foods in your fridge to have for easy meal prepping and stuff like that. It's all the small regular things we take for granted every day that are the most important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even if you're in a position where you can't change the big things, just change the small things. Just change all the small things you can, and do it slowly. We'll be having another episode on habits a little later, but we can just go into it quickly here because that's essentially what we're talking about by the small, seemingly mundane things you do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, take one thing, just one thing you have right now that you want to change, like taking a walk in the morning. Just do everything you can, break it down into micro routines, and lay clearly out what you have to do. So in the morning, or actually it starts in the afternoon, you find your running clothes or just some clothes that are comfortable to walk in and some shoes, and you put them ready by your bedside so you can see them and take them on immediately in the morning. And then you go to bed in time and you get a good night's sleep. You wake up, you put on your clothes for the first thing, then you walk to the door. Second thing, you open the door, then you walk out the door, and then you just walk down the block. Then when you get down the block, if you want to turn back, you turn back. But then you got outside at least, and you actually took a walk.
Yeah, it's achieving those tiny victories that sort of change the habits of your brain, you know, to actually get that step further next time. Maybe you go for like a kilometer walk or 2 kilometers.
Exactly. You just don't make this thing seem like a killer in the morning.
Yeah.
Or at any time. Don't make it seem like it's this big insurmountable task that you can't do and you have to do it every day for the rest of your life and it's gonna be hell. Just make it something you can achieve. Something you can overcome.
I find myself, you know, giving myself these giant tasks, like, okay, let's say I learn like 2 pieces or 2 pages of music today, and then tomorrow I'll learn the rest. But you know, often you sort of get entrenched by the whole, you know, factor of learning that much in the amount of time you have. You sort of just get discouraged. But you know, what's important is just sitting down, doing the thing you have to do, and then just seeing how it turns out. You know, it's not always about, you know, setting tasks for the days, but it's about keeping that end goal in mind.
Yeah, it's the same thing if you want to learn an instrument or something, like you were talking about music now. Just make it a goal to practice for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because when you're sitting down and you've started practicing, 2 minutes will become more generally.
Yeah, I often experience this. You know, you sit down and then it often becomes more time than you know, in the start wanted to.
Same thing about reading. Same thing about everything. Sit down, read 1 page. 1 page might just become 2 pages. Might just become 3 pages. Yeah. Just sit down and read the first page. It's the same thing with any task, and we'll of course get into it more in an episode soon about habits specifically.
Yes.
But the most important thing is, whatever you want to do, just take small steps and take as much responsibility as you can to make this something positive and valuable in your life, and just take small steps to implement it every day, and
shouldn't be
relentless about it. Yeah, it shouldn't be overcoming to you. Daunting. It shouldn't be daunting to you. And it should be able to be overcome. But it should be a responsibility that you take to at least do the minimal things you can do every day to make some progress in the long run.
This weirdly reminds me of a fitness program that I enrolled in, Ty Lopez's Entrepreneur Fitness.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know, he said the most important thing is ensuring that you do not get injured, because, you know, let's say you work out your biceps, do some bicep curls or something, and you overwork them, so you pull a muscle or something. Now you can't work out for the next 2 weeks, and you have to spend those 2 weeks not working out at all because you can't.
Yeah.
And you know, that's
and you barely move the muscle, and then you just lose everything.
You know, just, you know, doing too much of something can divert you off your path for a long time, and you know, it takes a long time to get back onto that path. And you know, it works very well, the sort of fitness kind of thing, you know, not always making sure you can work out, or you have the measurements you can, you work out enough, so but
Yeah,
not to work out.
You can push yourself to the point, but
to
not over the point.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's the same thing about work. Everybody has different
Limits?
breaking points and limits for working. So for example, this guy we talked about earlier, my good friend, he can work tirelessly and he can just keep working.
Yes.
And he doesn't have to take a break as much as somebody like me or maybe you.
Yeah.
Because he finds so much enjoyment in working that maybe even if he gets like an hour of a break a day, that's fine for him. Half an hour to an hour, like besides eating and all that mundane stuff you have to do.
Yes.
But like half an hour or an hour a day where he just has spare time, that's fine for him. He can just work the rest of the time. But someone like me, I can't do that, at least not regularly. So I have to find the balance and let me do that. And yeah, I think we even might have derailed here at the end from the topic. No, that was about the break thing. Sorry. Yeah, but it's important to take a break.
Yeah.
When you need to take a break, remember to take a break. It's important. And do whatever you can and break everything up into micro routines and micro steps that you can take and slowly build something greater.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's all of the main topic of the video. And just to talk about the future videos quickly. We're not absolutely sure what the next video is going to be about. It might be habits, but it might also be something to further this video, something more about the person and personalities and how to be oneself and how to deal with what one are. So we're not certain about that yet. We're still working on that, but it might be something furthering this video, or it might be something about habits. One of those two things.
Yes.
But that's all for this video, and now into the sign-off segment.
All right. Yeah, well,
Yes.
I've been set the task of doing or leading the sign-off segment here. We said in the first video that we would talk about things that we were focusing on in our personal lives. Personally, I have been focusing on the stock market and beginning investing. So that's been a big part of my life these past 2 weeks, and it's something I feel that I can do while still performing the tireless and
Cumbersome task of school.
Cumbersome task of school, yeah.
For using a fancy word.
Yes. But yeah, that's been a big focus recently. There's been, I guess, some problems with setting up a stock portfolio that I can use to invest in since I'm under 18. But yeah, it's worked out now and can now begin investing. But that's something I've looked into a couple of companies. We talked about this on earlier.
Yeah.
And I talked about how my father, he invests in medicinal companies.
Yeah.
As they can often be they often maintain their
very stable rates.
Very stable rates, and how they always have customers as it is necessary for life. And if you take Novo Nordic, a big company in Denmark, they make insulin products. Without the insulin, you will die with a high diabetic person, and it's necessary then to have these products. And under Corona, you see people or companies lose customers as they try to keep their money, and as fear creeps into themselves. But that sort of doesn't affect Novo Nordic, as it's products that are always necessary to have.
Yeah, and that does make a lot of sense. And then we talked about other than medical companies, we talked about Tesla because you were mentioning the extreme growth rates in Tesla.
Almost like 200-300% over like a 2-year basis.
Yeah,
Insane.
yeah, that is crazy. And we talked
it's really cool because I mean, since they released their stocks for the public, it's always been very rigid and always very fragile. It's always been very stable, sort of, but never growing. But it's increasing extremely during the last couple of months. I mean, during Corona, it's pretty cool. I mean, you saw a huge fall, but it's risen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about it. Led into the conversation about Elon Musk and how incredible a person he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it works very well with the sort of tireless working habits and.
He's that kind of guy.
He's
but he's
very hardworking and very admirable.
Exactly, and but he's a little different because usually when we talk about tireless and working, like very hardworking people, we actually bring up economists.
Yeah.
And that just seems to be a thing. People that like to work like to make a lot of money, and that's also fair. They like to work. They make money because they work. But this guy, he's not an economist. He's a scientist.
Yes.
So he works, and he makes incredible gadgets for humanity. And he does not work to make money. He just happens to make money because he makes incredible gadgets for humanity. And that's pretty much the most honorable thing that a man can be. Not working for money and still deserving the money.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible. I think that was one of the main things that just makes him an incredible human being.
You're just seeing the things he has accomplished. We talked about the new, not really that new, but the Skylink program that he has. He sent up like 360 satellites, something, or just a part of the program. But recently I saw over the night sky 20 satellites that he had sent up in the US, and then they could be seen over the Danish night, the Danish sky in the night, yeah. And you can see the line. There were about like 7 on the visible satellites going across the sky in a line, and it was very cool. Just seeing the things that seem very insurmountable, and but apparently is surmountable for him in some way.
Yeah, because he's this crazy guy who does all these things that are impossible.
Yeah,
it's like he does one thing
way.
That's impossible, and then he does another thing that's impossible, and then the possibility of doing 2 impossible things from the same human being is just even more impossible.
Yeah,
and he manages it.
I think when a long time ago, like a year ago or something, maybe longer, we talked about how the educational system could be improved dramatically.
Yes,
and that's sort of a feat that I think
still very old traditionalized factory working kind of system. Like, it is slowly improving, it seems to me,
kind of,
but it's not touching at the core problems of the school. That it's pushing people like us away who want something else than just to work at a day job. And
we talked about how the educational sector was sort of the last sector left because Elon had basically done all the other things, green transportation and space travel and all that stuff. It's crazy. And electronical wiring of money, I guess, with PayPal.
Yeah, he's done it all. I mean, he's incredible. I mean, I admire him very much.
And
like him, and I even have him on my wall up there.
Oh yeah,
you see,
a risk.
Yeah, and then I have Mr. Jordan Peterson. Yeah, Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson, and Schwarzenegger, also him. And Beethoven. Oh yeah, Beethoven. I admire them, but Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson. I think they are incredible human beings. I admire them very much.
Yeah,
2 of my favorite people.
But
I'd love to meet them someday.
Definitely, yeah, of course.
I mean, someday, hopefully.
I mean, he loves roleplay. I think I remember in his book.
Oh, really?
In that book, yeah.
Oh, okay. We could play some D&D with him.
Yeah, I think it was D&D. Awesome. It was, or
really?
Some like Hobbits sort of roleplay with swords and real life.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I should write a D&D scenario, and then we could play that.
From the book, I sort of got the impression that he was a big nerd, and
you
can sort of see that in sort of his Tesla presentation. He jumps around the scene and sort of dances when he.
Yeah, he's so excited and engaged.
It seems so casual.
Work. Yeah.
He links very well with this sort of audience or target audience. He just he likes them and they like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, if we ever get to meet him, I'll definitely love to roleplay with him. I definitely love to.
Yeah,
That would
I'm
be
sure
amazing.
he'd be happy to.
To be honest, I'd love to roleplay like D&D with most celebrities. That would be awesome. Or like
Yeah.
hardworking, like even an economist. That would be fun to see their take on role playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like someone like Warren Buffett. Man, he could be like an amazing old wizard.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. Also, just to further the outro a bit more,
Oh my god.
we talked about I've been writing some scenarios for Ultimate Werewolf play.
Yeah.
That would be awesome too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just getting a bunch of people together and having a narrative to tell through playing this Ultimate Werewolf game. And Ultimate Werewolf, it's an easy game to play, but the thing that makes it the most exciting is building a good narrative around it. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, it's just a game of pointing fingers.
Yeah, it just gets
Yeah.
tedious, and there's
Yeah.
no real purpose. It's the storyline that builds the whole thing,
and
builds
it doesn't-
character.
Yeah, exactly. It
to the
doesn't
game,
have to
yeah.
be complicated, but just something that puts it on some rails.
People can
something,
follow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Something that makes
set rules.
makes you live into the story
Yeah.
and makes you build a character. And that's also what we do usually when we play the game. We
Mhm.
make people introduce themselves as their characters when
Yeah.
we go around the table in the first day. And that makes the game so much better. So much better.
Well, I
Yeah,
think that's,
I think that's
it for today.
Yeah.
I think it was a pretty long podcast this time, but
Oh, that's
well,
what
that
we
was
want.
mine. Yeah, that's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think even just this time from the last time, it's been a lot easier and more comfortable
I
to talk
think,
today.
I think it's pretty good this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think the first time was very
awkward.
cringeworthy. Yeah.
Yeah. But especially here in the end, it got a lot
Yeah.
better. And well, I'm very excited to talk about all of these things, and I'm excited to practice it. I've also been doing some English lessons or vocabulary training
Okay.
in the spare time. Not
Yeah.
that much. It started just a few days ago.
Okay.
But I've been doing a bit.
Like
just to
online
practice.
or just personally? There's
I write words down I don't know when I read them in books.
right.
But that's one thing. It doesn't help that much because I look them up later. I write down what it means, then I sort of just forget it. So I have to look through it again and maybe write some sentences with the words.
Okay.
Then there is an online website that helps you learn them. So I just kind of use that.
Cool.
But yeah, slow and steady progress as we talked about earlier. Exactly. But yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
And, it's been a lot better today. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm excited for the next episode. And we hope that our two listeners are too.
Yeah, ourselves.
Yeah, ourselves. Maybe my mom and my dad.
Oh.
Oh no, my dad wouldn't listen to this. Well, it's been good. It's been fun. And we just hope you all will take care until the next episode.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.